how do you feel though? You know, as far as you guys coming back and the first 3 days of training here.
Yeah, first 3 days have been good. Just integrating a lot of new guys, whether it's academy guys, younger guys, or new additions. We have a very similar group to last year, so the foundation is there, and the guys came fit and ready to train and ready to get the season running, and so excited for this year. It's a big year, I think, for many different reasons. So it's an exciting year that people have been just ready for, eager to get going for.
Was it how was moving past the way that you guys finished? You know, like is it uh, disappointing and we had a sour note for the season, or does League's Cup make things better? Like how did you kind of deal with that? You know, the way that everything finished, and then looking at it as a whole.
Yeah, I think the way things finish, it leaves you with a sour taste in your mouth for sure. Frustrating to not lose a game and be knocked out of the playoffs, right? Like that's part of the format. We need to be better in penalties. That's basic stuff, right? Like we need to be better in that phase of the game. But look, we let that game slip, and it culminates to that feeling, right? Because you do so well during the regular season. But in total, right, you win a trophy, a trophy that you play some good competition that you went undefeated in. So it's hard to not say last year was not a success, right? It was very much successful, and so just sour the way it ended.
Speaking of trophies, how about your Washington Huskies?
Yeah, incredible. When we talk about being undefeated, they went undefeated and on the road, and so credit to Jamie Clark and the rest of the squad to pull it through. I mean, that takes a grind. It takes a really special group. So I'm excited for them.
Jamie is a coach. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about him and maybe if there's any comparisons to him and Brian, and just the job that he does over at UW.
Yeah, very similar in the sense that they have a great culture, right? You see in every team how willing the guys are to do whatever it takes. You see guys on the bench being rowdy, right? It takes the whole squad, and it reminds me of our locker room in that sense, where injuries happen. You're going to need the entire squad to be successful. You look at Leagues Cup final and what our lineup looked like then versus other games. It takes the whole squad, and so credit to Jamie. Jamie's a silly and funny character, and he gets a lot out of his guys.
You talked about how it's going to be a huge year ahead. Does any small percentage of you already look ahead to potentially being able to play a World Cup game on your home turf?
You don't look ahead for those things, but for sure it's in the back of your mind, right? We're less than 6 months away from the World Cup, and if I have any possibility, I'm going to be doing everything possible to be there, and so. It starts with Seattle first, right? I have to be able to compete at a very high level to be able to give myself a better chance, and so that's my goal.
Yeah.
One of the good.
Oh, I was just gonna say, or ask if you had any communication or any indicators of whether you'll be called
Like
up
where
in
I'm
March
at.
or anything like that. Yeah.
No. That'll come later in the year. Pochettino likes to do a good job or he likes to kind of give you your space. Lets you be free when you're with your club, and then when it's national team stuff, it's you're 100% dedicated to that.
As one of the things that the Sounders have been known for over the years is the continuity from one year to the next. You've obviously been here a long time, but what role does that end up playing in these, especially early in practice like this, when you know these are all guys effectively that you've been training with for years?
Yeah, it's amazing because you create that foundation, and now it hasn't really helped us in starts throughout our time here, throughout my time here. But we come together at some point throughout the year and feel like we gel really well together. And we feel that in preseason. We feel that every year, right? We feel like we have a good group, a really nice locker room, a competitive locker room, and now it's about right the standards that we set throughout the year. From day one, game day one, right? A tough game in Salt Lake when it's cold, right? To a hot game in Houston. How can we keep those standards? I think that's the continuity that we need that we need to kind of build off of. Because we have a good group and we seem to turn it on in big tournaments, but during the regular season, how can we compete at a very high level?
Christian, last year in the preseason, the team seemed to really focus and emphasize on offense, and I think that paid out at the end of the season with results. What is it that you feel like the team needs to work on, or you feel like it has to be a point of emphasis going into this preseason?
Yeah, transition defensively. We let in a few too many goals last year. And sometimes, right, when you're a little bit more offensive, that happens. But, we need to be back to our 2024 selves defensively with a little bit more attack in us, right? A little bit more what we saw in 2025, right? More goals with a better defense, better in set pieces. But I think above all, right, transition is going to be really important for us when we're putting guys into the attack. We're in 3-in-1 shape. How can we delay attacks? That's going to be a point of emphasis. Buy time for our guys to get back so that we take less goals in transition.
What have you seen? What have you seen from Paul Arriola as he's been trying to kind of get? Last year, he had to integrate with the team, and this year he's sort of having to integrate again, and dealing with coming back from a pretty serious injury.
Well, I think that he's eager. He's excited. I think that he did everything in his power to get his body back into the right place. It's going to take some time for his knee to kind of feel good and get his legs under him, but I think he did everything in his power to get back and be in a good spot, good shape, to be able to join us as soon as possible. And so that's credit to him. That's his hard work that he brings. And I think he's going to integrate with our group fantastically. I think he's a player that finds chemistry, understands players really well. He might not be probably the fastest or the strongest, but he just always seems to be in the right place, and that's a player that we need on the field. And so once he gets rhythm, I think he's going to be in a really good spot.
Christian, the addition of Hassani, thoughts on him joining the team, and also just if you had any prior connection with Hassani, seeing as how he's from a few miles that way.
No prior connections to Hassani, besides just playing against him. He says that he's happy to be here, not playing me, and those are his words, not mine. So that's always nice to hear. But in all seriousness, he's going to bring competition, right? More depth to our team. A player that has played many games in this league, that understands this league. As well as Nicolas. So I'm excited for those two guys to integrate with the group, and I think that we have strong depth, continuity, and so how can we build off that and use those guys to our advantage?
Add a little bit with Hassani and the way that you guys are integrating, with Snyder. Can you talk about that middle area and how that's going to come about?
Yeah, there's some new players in there, right? Jao was a big piece for us last year, very reliable when he's on the field, when he's healthy. And now it's about getting Snyder up to speed. And, he came in sharp for preseason. He looks good. He obviously was effective when he played. And so those are just the things that us, like Obed and myself, are going to have to continue to build confidence with those guys. We have some strong players in there, and so hopefully Obed and I are gone with the national team, and let's see where we're going to have to rely on those guys. Go ahead.
Just also wanted to follow up with Paul off the field. What have you kind of been able to do to keep his spirits up and and what have you seen from him in terms of what he's had to deal with, again, adjusting to a new place and everything?
Paul's always he is actually the one that brings the energy, right? He's the person that brings the good energy, the good vibes, and so he does it himself, honestly. But he's been around Jesus long enough, Jordan, myself, hanging out off the field, really important. You know, he's bought in watching games with torn ACL, right? There's times where you want to step away from here, and you know, it's a little bit. You're in a depressive mood, and you don't want to be here. And no, Paul was here. He was eager. He was working. He was disciplined. So that's just credit to Paul. Paul's the one that brings that, and I think that's what he brings so much to our locker room. And the energy is just infectious, right? His standards are so high, and we're excited to have him back.